Hello, Math 2 students. This is the second of 3 videos to help you review for the test. The focus of this video is vertex form. Before we can understand anything about vertex form, we need to make sure that we understand about the parent function of a quadratic function. The parent function of a quadratic function is y equals x squared. The vertex of that parabola is at 0, 0, and the y coordinate of any point on the parabola is the x coordinate squared. So if we have an x coordinate of -3, our y coordinate will be 9. If we have an x coordinate of -2, our y coordinate will be 4. If we have an x coordinate of -1, our y coordinate will be 1. And an x coordinate of 1 will give us a y coordinate of 1. An x coordinate of 2 will give us a y coordinate of 4. And an x coordinate of 3 will give us a y coordinate of 9. That is the parent function. There's a graph of the parent function with those points plotted on the graph. The a value of any quadratic equation, no matter what form it is in, controls how wide or narrow the parabola is and the direction that it opens. First of all, when you're trying to determine if your parabola will be wider or narrower than the parent function, you can ignore the sign of the a value. If your a value is a proper fraction, your parabola will be wider than the parent function. If, when you're ignoring the sign, your a value is greater than 1, your parabola will be narrower than the parent function. Now, when it comes to whether or not the parabola opens up or down, the only thing that you care about is the sign. If you have an a value that's positive, it will open up, and an a value that is negative, it will open down. Vertex form of a quadratic equation is f of x equals a times the quantity x minus h squared plus k. The axis of symmetry in vertex form is x equals h. And the y coordinate of the vertex in vertex form is the k value. Here I have a quadratic equation in vertex form. Vertex form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. And so on this problem, my a value is -5, my h value is +1, and my k value is +5. Now, what makes this parabola look different than other parabolas in vertex form are these 3 numbers. If one of these numbers were different, we would get a parabola that would look different than the one we're going to get when we eventually graph this problem. The first thing that I'm going to look for is the axis of symmetry. So when you're dealing with vertex form, your axis of symmetry is x equals whatever your h value is. So our axis of symmetry is x equals 1. So if I draw that axis of symmetry on my graph right now, it's going to be a line that looks like that. All right, to find the y coordinate of my vertex, I just need to use y equals k. So the vertex of any equation that's in vertex form is h comma k. So my vertex is at 1, 5. So my vertex is going to be 1 to the right and up 5. Now, I only have 1 point on my graph. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to make a table, and when I complete the table, I'll have more points to plot so that I can see what my parabola actually looks like. I have a vertex of 1, 5 filling the middle position on my table. 1 to the right of 1 is 2. 1 to the right of 2 is 3. 1 to the left of 1 is 0. And 1 to the left of 0 is -1. Now I know that whatever value I get when I put 0 in, 2 will have the same value. And whatever y value I get when I put -1 in, 3 will have the same value. So I think I'm going to start out by putting 0 into my function. So I have y equals -5 times 0 minus 1 squared plus 5. And 0 take away 1 is -1. So I just did the math problem inside the parentheses. Now I'm going to do the exponents. So I have y equals -5 times 1 plus 5. And that'll be y equals, now I'm going to do the multiplication, -5 plus 5. And -5 plus 5 is 0. So my y coordinate when x equals 0 is 0. So my y coordinate when x equals 2 is also going to be 0. Now to find my y coordinate here, I'm going to put 3 into my function. So I have y equals -5 times 3 minus 1 squared plus 5. I have to do the math problem inside the parentheses. So that'll be 2 squared plus 5. And then I have to do the exponents. So 2 squared is 4 plus 5. And that'll give me -20 plus 5. -20 plus 5 is -15. So when my x value is 3, my y value is -15. When my x value is -1, my y value will be -15. So now if I plot those points on my graph, I'll be able to see what shape my parabola is. So over 0 and up 0, over 2 and up 0, -1 and down 15, and +3 and down 15. And so my parabola will look like this. One thing that we should look at before we're done with this problem is we should label our vertex, which is at 1, 5. We should label our x-intercepts, which are at 0 and 2. And we should check our a value, which is -5. And that makes sense because it looks like our parabola is narrower than the parent function and our parabola opens down.